everybody. Woo! It's 2025. Can you even believe it? Oh my goodness. I wanted to make this video quick. If you are someone in my unit or outside my unit that is excited about creating something different in 2025, this video is going to be for you. I'm going to give you all sorts of things. We're going to talk about mindset, but I really want to talk too about working full circle and just how to ignite booking, selling, team building as we start the new year. So happy new year, first of all. Oh my goodness, I've got so many questions for you. First question I want to ask you, I want you to write this one down. I want you to think about this one, journal about it, ponder it, is what sets you on fire? Okay, so what is it? What sets you on fire? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What motivates you to work your Mary Kay business? What excites you when things get hard? What makes you push through the disappointments? What is it? Is it, for a lot of people I'm finding right now, it is never saying the words, I can't afford that, or we don't have time for that, or we're not going to be able to swing that this year. A lot of people just like never want to utter those words ever again. Okay, so maybe that's you. Well, what sets you on fire about the business? And what is it about the business that can ultimately lead you to a goal, that can lead you to the vision that you have for your life, right? So what sets you on fire? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Get clear on that, right? Because there's going to be, in anything, there's tough times where you have to pull yourself out and have the self-discipline and the passion and that kind of thing. So what sets you on fire? The second thing I want to ask you is, when is the last time you had momentum? And this is a big one because momentum means like when things felt easy and sales were happening and you had people joining your team, and I don't know, it just felt fun. It was fun. It was easy, not easy, but simple. And just like you felt ease in your life. You weren't spinning your wheels. The numbers were happening for you. When was the last time that happened for you? Now, for some of you, it might be like, oh my gosh, girl, it's been like 5-10 years. Maybe it was last quarter for some of you. Maybe you're in it right now. You feel like this is my year. This is my moment. I'm having a year already. This is amazing. And maybe, okay, the people that I most just want to give a big hug to is if you've never had it, okay? And girl, if you've never had it, I remember being at a point like that in my business early on, and I heard National Sales Director Rena Tarbett, who's an emeritus now, and she said, some of you, it was like when the economy was really bad, and she said, some of you are like a big willow tree with deep roots and like basically this root system that's going to hold you and anchor you into the ground. And then some of you are like this tiny little, like seed flying through the air. You've got no roots. You haven't, in other words, you haven't had the momentum. And she said, you just got to grab a branch and you hold on. And I just like took that and I was like, okay, just got to hold on. I just got to give this thing some more time. So if that's you, friend, let's get you doing the things that are necessary for momentum to happen. Because I think it's a dangerous thought to think like momentum should just happen. Momentum happens because we say it's going to happen and we change something. Okay, so if you haven't had momentum in a while, or you've never had it, we need to change something. And the reason why momentum is so important is because once you've had it, okay, and I think any friends listening to this who've had momentum before can attest to this. Once you've had it, you want to get back to it, right? And National Sales Director Barbara Sutton said this once in a class I was in. She said, momentum is a fleeting friend. And I was like, ooh, that's really good, because it's so true. We don't always have momentum. It's unrealistic to think we'll always, because there's sowing seasons in our business and there's harvesting seasons in any business, right? It doesn't matter if you're Target or Walmart or Mary Kay, right? There's sowing seasons, there's growing seasons, and then there's harvesting seasons. And so, but once you've had the momentum, you always want to get back there. And so that becomes another piece to that puzzle of what lights you on fire is, not the actual momentum lights you on fire, but, say it's like never saying, I can't afford that. having momentum in the past makes you go, okay, I've had it in the past. I know I could get there again. And that is the thing that is going to lead me to the thing that sets me on fire. Okay, so that's why momentum is so important. It becomes a motivator for you. And we need those strong motivators. So that's one thing. I love, you guys, I'm loving all the New Year's memes people are posting. So I want to tell you about this one. I actually have two that I'm going to share with you today. So one that I saw recently was, it has to do with the saying, if you change nothing, nothing will change. And if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? So I love the way of wording this, though, is that if you don't change something, you're not going to have a new year. You're just going to have another year. So if you don't change something, you're not going to have a new year. You're just going to have another year. And maybe for you, you don't want 2025 to look like 2024 or 2023 or 2022 or 2021, right? So, and it doesn't mean you need to overhaul your entire life and your whole business. It might be just some little tweaks or even just a mindset thing that we need to shift to get you right for 2025. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories because we're going to talk about mindset. And this is really about emotional management. Okay. So the first story that I want to tell you about is I grew up on a farm in a small town in Wisconsin. And if there are any farm girls watching this, I used to, like, as a small girl, my job was to get the gates for my dad, meaning like we had all these cows and he would take the skid loader and either be hauling manure, hauling feed, hauling hay, whatever the thing was that we were hauling. And he would just physically need someone to be out there, getting the gate, opening it, and then shutting it so the cows don't get out, right? It's easy when you're like 7, 8 years old. It's an easy job for a 7 or 8 year old, you'd think. Okay, so we had those red pipe gates. Well, they were just red, but it's like metal piping gates. And then they had this like jigsaw puzzle chain thing that you had to put the chain in, and that's, you'd wrap it around the post and then jigsaw puzzle it in there. Well, we had two of those kind of like side by side. And this pen was the pen that houses the bull, and this one is the pen that housed the heifers or the girl cows. And, they can't mix. They can only mix certain times a year because you don't want to have baby cows in the middle of January in Wisconsin. It's a really bad thing. You want them to be born like in the spring when it's starting to warm up so they have time to get older before it gets cold again, and so on and so forth. And, I'm not going to go into animal husbandry for you, but if you can just about imagine it. So at one point, I was getting the gates for my dad. He was hauling manure, and he was going in and out of both of those pens like all afternoon. I mean, I think I sat out there for 3 or 4 hours just like opening and shutting gates, opening and shutting gates, opening and shutting gates. And when you're doing it so many times, instead of going all the way around the post and jigsaw puzzling it into the little thing, you would just like wrap one around the post and then go do the other one, just so it like held enough so the cows thought it was shut. You know where this is going. So I was doing that all day. Well, lo and behold, that night at like 2 or 3 in the morning, I hear my dad we got a phone call. And then I hear my dad, and if you know anything about farm people, they're the nicest gosh darn people, but farms are a high stress environment. And so like my dad was not someone who swore unless something happened, but I'm telling you, at 2:00 in the morning, I heard the most melodic symphony of swear words ever strung together by a human person, because we had gotten a phone call, your cows are out, right? Which does happen. So all of our cows are out. It's the middle of the night, so we have to go get the cows in. And I will never forget. I mean, I like hid because and my dad would never like, whatever. I knew I was like in trouble, and he had a vein bulging out of his head, and I get it. Okay, so that's one story. Second story is my mom was talking with a neighbor in the yard, and my brother and I had gotten this BB gun. She's way across the yard in this asparagus patch that we had. And my brother's trying to like shoot this bird, and my mom is like really kind of quiet, more, like whatever. And I remember my brother like shooting in that direction because he thought he was shooting at this like bird or something. And all of a sudden it went pew, like it went whizzing right by my mom's ear. And she turned, and my brother and I realized it. It was just like in a movie. Like I've never seen a person, like she was so mad, and she like, I swear she took 3 steps to get the distance that we were away from her. And my brother and I just like dropped the gun and run because we knew we were in trouble. We knew like we had done something really bad. Anyway, okay, so like what do these two stories have in common, even though they're funny and hilarious? And I'm sure you all have some story of childhood where you did something. And the thing that these two stories have in common is passion. Okay, and maybe it's misplaced at times, but it really has to do, especially in the story with my dad, that they had so much care for what they do. Like they were so passionate about what they do. And me failing to lock the gates was like a direct violation of that. Like I had messed up something that he had worked so hard to like build and maintain. So he had that passion about it. Um, in that moment, he felt something, whether it was an accident, whether it was like intentional. And I have to share this, and I kind of did this training at our fall retreat this year. But it's still in my heart to say this. The thing that unsettles me more than anything in this moment in time in our business and just in the culture of the people and the environment right now and the season in our business is that you missed your goal again and you feel nothing. You didn't hit what you said you were going to hit and you feel nothing about it. Or even worse, you're not even setting goals in the first place because you're worried you're going to be disappointed later. Or you're just telling yourself, it's okay. I'll do it again next month. I'll do Unit Club next year. I'll submit DIQ again. I'll just extend my car qualification 3 quarters. I'll just. And we don't feel anything about that. You guys, I'm telling you, you should feel something when you miss a goal. You should not be okay with it. I'm not saying you have to like tear apart the county or anything, but like you should feel something. Maybe it's sadness, and that it's okay to feel sad if you miss your goal. I think that we in the Mary Kay world, we do a lot of training about emotional management, and a lot of it is about like tempering our emotions. But girl, I am telling you, in this season in our business, I want you to feel something. Okay, I had a consultant who was upset recently about a disappointment that she had, and she called me about it, and I was like, yes, like this girl is my next director because she feels something, right? Like she is like, I can't believe that this happened, and she was almost in tears about it. I'm like, okay. And it wasn't irrational. She just was so passionate about like the thing she was doing that it just upset her that much. And it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to be angry if you don't hit your goals, but feel something. So, if you're a note taker and you wrote, oh, Emily's talking about emotional management, you wrote that out, like go ahead and cross it off and write letting myself off the hook management, because that's really what this is about. And so I know I've talked about this. My Offspring director, Anna Clickinger, listened to I think it was, oh gosh, you guys, I think it was Craig Groeschel or whatever podcast, but he talked about, whenever in history, I think I've said this in another video too, but whenever in history, some major event happens, people go through 3 phases, right? They go through shock. So shock is the first phase, which is like, oh my gosh, how did we get here? I can't believe this is happening. What are we going to do? So if you think about COVID, which is our most recent big event, we all went through that, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to our business? What's going to happen? We freak out. The second thing is empathy. Okay. An empathy stage looks like, oh my gosh, girl, are you okay? Like, we can do this together. Motivational and, what's the word? Motivation apps went up. Meditation apps, self-care became huge. Checking in on your friends, you guys, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. There's a season for it, right? And then the third phase is productivity. And productivity, you're seeing this in like the rest of the world, not just the Mary Kay world, where companies are saying, okay, guys, like, we got through it. It's been a while. It's been long enough, right? Like, it's time to get back to productivity. It's time to get back to goals. It's time to get back to passion. It's time to get back to, not that we'll ever be the same as we were before, but like, it's just time to get back to winning again, right? And so if you've missed the memo and you're watching this, we are full blown in the productivity phase. It's why companies are saying coming back to work. That's why there's been a lot of layoffs. It's why there's been a lot of just like change in the workforce. We are in full blown productivity. But friends, a lot of people, maybe even you, are still in empathy or in the shock phase. Okay, so and productivity isn't just about holding more parties, it's about finding your passion, right? So one of the first questions that I asked you is, what sets you on fire? That's the answer to all of your problems. Just kidding, but you know what I mean, like figuring out what sets you on fire. So okay, so and I want to make this really clear. This is something I've been thinking a lot about, is what is self-care and what isn't self-care. I get that there's self-care like putting a mask on at night and taking a bath, and that's all true. That's all good. We need to take care of ourselves, okay? But I want to be clear that like what self-care isn't. Self-care is not holding myself accountable. Like, if you're not holding yourself accountable, that is not self-care. That's like the opposite of self-care, right? That's self-harm. How is it? So I wrote this thought down one day. How is it taking care of yourself when you don't push yourself to grow and be uncomfortable? When you don't push yourself to do hard things. Like, if we're not growing, if we're staying in comfort, that is not self-care, that's self-preservation, right? So because that growth is always important. We need to always be growing, and not just because of Mary Kay and because we own a business, but because it's like, we want to be better human beings, which is really, really cool. So and I think some of it is just, it's not that we don't lack care for things that are important. It's just because we've gotten a weariness, right? Because we've kind of lost that passion. And so yeah, so we're going to talk about some of these things. So again, really, I mean, I am not kidding. Find the answer to that question of what sets you on fire, because I think it's going to be the key to you really getting out in 2025 and just making it a little bit different, right? So one of the other questions that I've thought a lot about and have trained on is, what is it going to take for you to make working your Mary Kay business a non-negotiable? Okay, so if we find this thing that sets us on fire and we have this momentum, what's it going to take for you to make your work in your Mary Kay business a non-negotiable, so that you can set goals that are aligned with what you're passionate about and your vision, and actually start working towards those goals. So yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about, so that's just a little bit about mindset. And friends, here's what I'll tell you. If you're really struggling, maybe you're at a point in your business where even figuring out what you're passionate about is hard. I get it. I always say you got to farm girl your way out of it until the vision hits you. Like, and what I mean by that is, I always give the example, like if you ever worked on a farm, it's like the cows have to eat. You don't get to choose like, gosh, I don't feel like feeding them today. Or even like if you have a dog, you guys get this, right? Like if you have a pet, you can't just say, gee, I'm just not feeling like feeding my dog today. Like you would never say that, but we do that. If you change it to your business, like I just don't feel like feeding into my business today. It doesn't hit quite the same, but yet it is kind of the same. So sometimes you have to farm girl your way out of it until the vision hits you, meaning like you have to go to work even when you don't feel like it. It's called discipline. And I promise you that the vision will hit you. There's Mary Kay always said, you can do everything wrong with the right attitude and still be successful. I have always believed, I believe in that, but I also think that you can do everything wrong also with a poor attitude. And eventually, if you do enough of it wrong with a poor attitude, you're going to get like some random woman is going to pity buy from you or pity sign up on your team. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have a team member, accidentally. Those things do happen. And then that's going to shift your attitude. It's going to shift your mindset, right? So sometimes it's just making a decision like, okay, 2025, moving forward, it's not going to be the same because I'm not the same, right? I've decided different. And when a woman decides, the world shifts, right? So even just making a decision to be passionate about something or that you're going to change something is often enough to just shift everything. Okay, so I want to talk about working full circle and give you some tangible tips to help. Like, you've got this new mindset, you've got this passion back. You want it to be a new year, not just another year. We want to move forward. The second meme I promised I would tell you about that I saw someone post was that this one's my favorite. Goals are for people who care about winning once. Systems are for people who care about winning repeatedly. And I was like, ooh, do you ever do that when you read something like that? You're like, ooh, that was good. So one of the things that I want to say to my unit and to anybody is that one thing I've really been thinking a lot, especially with just coming off the holidays, we have a lot of what I would call auxiliary selling ideas that we're putting out there, myself included. I mean, my YouTube channel has them, my unit website, like, meaning like, like scroll and shop parties would be one. Doing a survey when new products come out and getting customer feedback. That's an auxiliary selling idea. And what I mean by auxiliary is like, it sells product, and that's always good. There's nothing wrong with selling product because you're profiting, you're making money. It's part of the retail breadcrumbs of success, right? Like, where you have kind of sales coming in lots of different ways. It's good. But if you are looking to build a business that sustains you over time, that's predictable over time, that you have skincare reorder customers that are like lifelong, predictable reorders, like you could even do, I don't know, star consultant just on your reorders. Like, you're looking for that kind of business, not just like side money every now and then. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So if like you're loving that, stay with your auxiliary selling ideas. But if you're really looking to build that long-term consistent business, it is still, everything has changed yet nothing has changed. It is still working full circle. Whether you're doing virtual appointments or in-person appointments, I do a lot of both, but all of it is full circle. And what I mean by full circle is that at every appointment, you are sharing, you're booking future parties, you're sharing the opportunity, you're doing referrals, you're getting the, lead generating. So you're booking, selling, team building, right? Not working full triangle, which is like you're doing one of them or two of them. Triangles don't roll down a hill. Again, if we're looking to get momentum, a circle is momentum. A triangle does not roll down a hill. I say that in another video. So it's working full circle. So booking, selling, team building at each appointment, it is still relevant. It is still the way. Just looking at the people I know who are only doing the auxiliary selling ideas versus the people who are working full circle and doing those ideas, it is a night and day difference of what their customer bases look like, what their skincare orders are looking like, all those things. So I want to give you just some really quick tips in each area of booking, selling, team building, that I have found. And you guys, I'm personally shutting down 10 to 15 personal parties every single month, in addition to all the stuff I'm doing with my team. So I'm not just like training you on this or telling you these things from theory. Like, I'm living it myself. And you guys, this end of 2024, I really haven't seen the momentum that I want. And so I'm in the same boat. I'm looking to make a big change, which is why my name on this video is Emily Schutte, Creating Explosive Growth, because at the very end of 2024, I put some things in place that I'm super pumped about, just like a new way, working full circle. And I'm loving it already. And so I'm like, okay, like, it's going to be a new year. It's not going to just be another year. And I'm super pumped about it. And we have some big, big goals as a team in these next 6 months. So full circle. So let's talk about booking really quick. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on any of these, just quick things. So booking, okay. Someone in a Facebook group where there's lots of Mary Kay sales directors posted this question. What is your, what was it? It was like, what is your daily non-negotiable? Your one daily non-negotiable? And I was like, I think I was the first person to comment on this post. And I was like, oh, booking. That was my answer, was booking. Okay, now it's interesting because looking at everyone else's responses, it's like other things. It has always been booking for me. Booking, booking, booking. Every day I'm doing something to further booking. Okay, whether it's maybe I put out a bunch of messages 3 days earlier, checking back in with those messages, whether it's actually sending out new messages to referrals or bridal leads or whatever thing I was lead generating. Maybe it's I had sent some messages out to a bridal lead or a referral or whatever a couple days before. She said, yes, send me details. Oh, that sounds fun. But then I never really went anywhere. Well, what happened to her? I got to check back in with her. So I'm doing stuff like that constantly, almost every single day, with the exception of, if I'm not working in a day, I'm not going to do that. But all the time I'm booking. And that's why, so everyone asks me, Emily, how are you always holding 10 to 15 parties a month? It's because I'm always booking, right? In addition to that, I dovetail a lot of parties, meaning a lot of my consultants are holding parties because I'm double booked or whatever. So it's because I book a little bit every single day. So if there is one habit, like if you grasp anything from this video, the one habit that would change everything for you, even if you have stinking thinking, you've not had momentum, you don't like where you're at, like you're even questioning whether this is for you, if you just started booking every day, I promise you, well, I shouldn't promise anything, but if I were to promise something, I would say that would change everything moving forward. It would literally change everything if booking became your daily non-negotiable. Now, if you are like, that sounds really cool, however, I don't have leads to book. Okay, that's a reality. Then you need to go out and do some lead generating. And I'm talking, okay, friends, if you really want to make a difference and get this thing rolling, I'm talking go get 50 to 100 leads in 1 week. Not just like, oh, I'll go get some like 3 or 4 today and then 2 or 3 tomorrow. No, like I'm talking 50 to 100 is going to give you the momentum to do this thing where you're booking every day, to whatever. If you don't know how to get leads, I have lots of videos on, actually I have a whole playlist on getting leads. Okay, so lots of different ideas this time of year. It's great. So booking every single day, and it doesn't mean I'm doing it for hours and hours. It might be a half hour. It might just be responding to a bunch of texts or emails of people who kind of like responded, and I just have to respond back. But I'm always booking. Okay, always booking. So I want you to get in your mind, I'm always going to book. This is my year. Okay, first off, this is your year. Did you know that? Did I forget to say that? I did forget to say that at the beginning. This is your year. This is your year. This is my year. This is your year. Okay, so if this is going to be our year, we got to change something, right? We're just going to have another year, not a new year. Can't say that enough. So this could be the one thing that you change. Okay, so booking. So and I have all my scripts are on my website. Lots of I have like full trainings on booking. So again, I have a whole playlist on getting leads and bookings. The second thing in Working Full Circle is selling. Okay, so do you want to sell more? You want to have, and not just sell more in the moment, but sell more long term because you built solid customers that want to stay with you. Okay. Again, those retail breadcrumbs, like you sell a lot when you have full circle appointments that you're doing, in addition to some of those auxiliary selling ideas, which could be, like I said, scroll and shop parties. It could be a 24 by 24 by 24 challenge. It could be, maybe your unit did the sponsor a grandparent, or, what's the right wording for that? Gift a grandparent, or we gave, whatever. During the holidays, there's lots of those auxiliary selling ideas, right? So you're doing some of those. You kind of have a lot of different things coming in. So that's Yeah, that's how you're going to sell more. But I'm going to share with you that when you're doing full circle appointments, it's not just that you're selling product and you're putting it on their face, you're giving people an experience with you. Okay. You want people to say, wow, doing a Mary Kay beauty session with fill in your name. Okay. So I'm going to fill in my name, but you fill in your name. Okay. Doing a Mary Kay beauty experience with Emily. That's an experience. That's what you want people to say about you, because when you do all the full circle things, and I like to play games and stuff to make it full circle, um, tons of ideas about this, but when you do that and you give people like value, you give them an experience, they say, wow, I feel so lucky to have fill in your name as my consultant. Like, you want people to want you as their consultant. And some of that is like positioning ourselves more as an expert in what we do, but also like giving people an experience and giving them value. So that's why working full circle, in my opinion, is really, really important. Plus it does so much for our own skill. So in terms of selling, okay, one of the things that I think builds customers is when they get on more, like they buy more than just a mascara, right? It's pretty rare that I had a girl buy a mascara and then come back and buy $200 worth from me, right? It's when I gave them an experience, gave them value, they loved how their face felt, looked, whatever, and they bought a bunch at the party. And the best way that I know how to do that, also an interesting side story, I added up all my sales already for taxes. I can't even tell you on the calculator, 199 plus 299 plus 199 plus 199 plus 199 plus 299 plus 199 plus 399, like so many of those in a row, because I use a set sheet. Okay, now you might be like, really, Emily? Like, I'm watching this video and like all you got for me is use a set sheet? Yes. Now, here's where we maybe are a little misguided on set sheets. We think like, oh my gosh, I've got to get this set sheet from Emily because she sells so much. Okay. It's not that Emily's set sheet is magical. Okay. This is not magical. If you want it, it's on our team website. It's not about the sheet. It's about that what's on the sheet is the stuff you're sampling at whatever parties you're doing. That is the secret sauce. Because I'm telling you, at almost every party I do, they have a catalog or whatever, and they're just sort of like, it's the end and they're looking through it, or they're just like looking at it and they're kind of like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, oh, and I have this set sheet with everything we tried today grouped together. And I'm not even kidding you. I actually listen for it now. There's always one lady who's like, oh, thank goodness, she has a set sheet for me, because this is like, it doesn't even make sense for them. Like, they can't find the stuff that they use today. Your website, just throwing out a website to them does not make sense to them. But whatever set sheet you use, be strategic about what's on it. Is this the stuff you're actually demoing? Not everything. So for example, my favorite party to do is, because I like to give them a little bit of skincare and a little bit of color, not like full versions of either, but just a little bit, is we do the Miracle Set, Satin Hands and Lips, and we do a Dash Out the Door makeup look. It's one cream eyeshadow, mascara, lipstick, or gloss. Okay. It's not right or wrong. Do whatever you want to do, right? Whatever it is that you do, but just make sure. So like, the reason I like to do that party so much is they look really good only doing a couple makeup products, but there's so many sets from that on my sheet. So we've got the Miracle Set, which counts as 2 sets. So right there is 2 sets technically for my deals, and I'll explain the deals in a second. Then we did the Satin Hands and Satin Lips set. So then they end up getting that. So that's 3 sets now. Then the Flawless Complexion, which is the primer, the foundation, and a brush. I talked about or demoed, some of those products. So they get that set. They always want the Easy 24/7 Glam because it's the look that they tried. And then we always do and talk about the Prep, Clean, and Finish. So I end up selling so many $2.99, $3.99, or $1.99 set specials because of it, because it's what we tried today grouped together. So take a look at your set sheet. Do you actually have the ability to say, oh, and I have this set sheet, and what's on it is what we sampled today? Or is it just like some random set sheet with like a bunch of stuff on it that doesn't really make sense and it's not really what you showed them today? I'm telling you, you're going to sell so much more when your set sheet aligns with what you're showing people versus just like, oh, somebody posted a cool set sheet and they're selling a lot. You know why they're selling a lot? Because the stuff on their set sheet is the stuff they're talking about at their parties. That's why it's important to make, and if you don't have one, just make one, right? I made this myself. So you can make a set sheet. So that, I'm telling you, just from adding up my taxes, I was like, it's kind of cool. And I sold more this year than I did the year before. So again, do we want to have a new year? Or do we want to have another year? So that last year was a new year for me in that regard, which is really exciting. And when you're selling $199, $299, $399 worth, or even if they buy just the miracle set, they don't do one of the specials, they'll just buy individual sets off here. They're more likely to be a long-term customer than someone who just buys a mascara out of the catalog. Okay, team building. We're hitting the home stretch here. Team building. Okay. How are we doing on team building? I have so many people who will, I'll have a conversation with them and they'll say, oh, I got to work on my team building. I know team building is the thing I have to work on. And so I have some thoughts here. So the question that I have for you is team building at your appointments also a non-negotiable for you? Okay, because if I have two non-negotiables, it's that I book every day and that I never leave an appointment without team building. Because to be honest with you, like, I love to sell product and meet customers, and that's all a big part of our beauty sessions, both virtual and in person. But I'm also looking for my next awesome team member. Like that lights me on fire and gets me excited about doing parties, beauty sessions, whatever we're calling them in the first place, is adding cool women to my team that we're going to do life together with, or as long as they want to do it in this business. So, are you sharing the opportunity at every beauty session? First question. Second question is, how are you doing that? And the reason I'm saying how, there's not a right or a wrong way, but I have found that some people are like, I've asked consultants this very question who are frustrated with their team building. I said, okay, well, just like tell me what you're doing. And they're like, well, I just, I tell my eye story. Awesome. That's great. And if you haven't heard my training on like increasing or changing, making a good eye story, that would be a really good one too. I'll probably link that in the comments here just so you can access it. But so telling the eye story, that's great. And then I just kind of like talk about it. Okay, again, let's go back to the quote. Systems are for people who care about winning repeatedly. Okay, I love that piece of that because I think sometimes in our minds, we think we're team building and we're probably sharing something. But do you have a system for it that's repeatable? It's duplicatable. My husband says that's not a word, but whatever, I don't care. Duplicable? I don't know. He got in this whole argument with me about it. Sidebar. Okay, so duplicatable, like when you add people to your team, even if you're a new consultant, when you start adding people to your team, they could replicable, that's the word. He's like, you got to say replicate. Okay, whatever. Is it replicable for your team? And is it producing results over time? Okay, so that's really what a system is it repeatable? Can you teach it to someone else? Does it produce results over time? And so it's not that there's only one way to team build, it's do something, right? And that's why at every appointment, I tell an eye story and I play what's in my bag so that they're hearing the full Mrs. Cab, like full marketing. It's not just like me sort of like cherry picking pieces. So that would be the first thing to look at. If you're not loving your team building results, what are you even doing at your appointment? So it's just doing a little audit there and seeing what might need to be worked on. The second piece would be, are you positioning yourself in front of enough faces doing that system or, that thing that it is that you do? Because that's a reality too. It's a numbers game. Volume makes an unpredictable business predictable, right? So you've got to position yourself in front of people. And then the third piece would be the amount of like, what's the amount of people that you're selecting after the fact, or that, not, I don't like using the word selecting, is not good, but that, you're sitting down with them or you're on the phone if it's after like a virtual session, and you're saying, hey, Carrie, I see that you are a 7 on the interest scale. Like, tell me more about that. Okay. And then she tells you that, oh, I just think it would be great to earn some extra money, or girlfriends sound great. Awesome. And you have a conversation on the spot. Now, one thing that I'm really working on, if you're on my team, okay, this is something we're shifting, is a lot of people do that, but then they go right into like, oh, can I give you more info? Or can we sit down for coffee? Or can we, but there's a middle piece that we're missing. Okay. So you ask her about the info, like, hey, I shared the info today. I see you are a 7 on the interest scale. Tell me about that. I see you are a 2 on the interest scale. Tell me about that. I see you are a 1. I ask everybody. I see you are 1 on the interest scale. Tell me about that. And I just let her talk. Okay. Now, here's where, when she's done, there's this middle part, and this is where skill is required. Okay. So if you're looking ahead at 2025 at like, what can I improve this skill set in the middle? Okay. Because over here, she's saying all the reasons why she's a 2 on the interest scale. And over here is, can I give you more information? Okay. You're not going to leap over this middle part anymore. This is a big, wide Grand Canyon. You can't leap over it anymore. Okay. And this right here is the skill of the on-the-spot conversation to see if she's ready to start now. Before we say, can you get more information, or can I give you more information? Because this is a comfort thing. Leaping over this is like, we're too scared to try it. So we're just like, I'm just going to jump over it and do this. But then you lose so much. I can't even tell you, like, even if they're not ready to join right then, you missed out on having this like awesome conversation with her. And you miss out on yourself having a better understanding of why she is where she is, or why she is where she isn't, or whatever, because you leapt over this piece. Okay, so what that piece is, whether you're in person, whether you're having a phone call, is, okay, Carrie, I see you are a 4 in the interest scale. Tell me about that. She tells me the things. And I might go into asking questions. Well, tell me more about like, what this could do for, your flexibility. Cause you said you're, working so much, but you do want something extra. Like, tell me more about that. Right. Then she tells you about it. Okay. That's great. Yeah. And maybe you add like a Mary Kay, like, what I found, even in my own experience is blah, blah, blah. And you just keep the conversation going. And maybe the ending question is, so Carrie, I'm just like curious, like, what would it take for you to go from a 4 to a 10? Okay. And she's going to give you, oh, I just need to like talk to my husband. Great. What do you think he'd say? I always like to know what they're going to say. And then this is the skill. Okay, is this conversation, but it's also the intuition you must use. It's never pushy. It's never convincing. It's just you're listening to her and you're helping her solve problems. I never get into like overcoming objections. Can we just like erase the idea of overcoming objection flashcards from your mind? Because people are not that black and white, first of all, but second of all, she'll tell you that she doesn't have time. You like talk to her about it. Then suddenly her husband won't let her. You talk to her about it. Then suddenly it's a downward negative spiral and you're looking down into the negativity with her. Instead, when that happens, I'll say, I see you're really concerned about time. I would love to show you more about that. Okay. So that could be a way, instead of just like, just telling some story about how like you don't need a lot of time, or you have this like canned answer. It's like, I can really feel that like time is an issue for you. I would love to like show you more about this. Or if you really are struggling getting out of that cycle, one of the things I like to do is keep people focused on the possibilities, right? And the way that I shift people in these conversations is I'll say, so I'm hearing you about the time piece, that it's going to be really tricky for you. But what I really want to know, Carrie, is what does excite you about this? Like, how could this really change your situation? Because the reality is, all the things, all the objections, if you put them all in a big bucket, right? If this thing, this reason why she would is so like in the forefront for her, right? This stuff we can figure out. All this stuff can get figured out. If this is like important enough to her, like we can figure this piece out. So have the conversation on the spot and then use your intuition, which comes with practice. You're never going to get the intuition if you don't try, right? So instead of just jumping over, and then if it's like, okay, she's really not ready to start now, okay, then I'll say, Carrie, would it benefit you to just learn more about it? That's how I word it. Would it benefit you to just learn more about it? She might say yes, usually. Sometimes no, but usually it's yes. And I'll say, great, I have some options. Okay, so tell me what would be best for you. We could just do a phone call. I'll send you some info, okay? Blah, 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 whatever your info is. I'll send you a video or I'll send you whatever. I could give you a phone call and just, answer any questions you have on, this is how I word it. We can do a phone call. All I do is answer your questions and we'd see if it's a fit for you or not. Or if you want to meet for coffee, I buy you one of those fun little caramel drinks and I can show you how to make time. We could, whatever. It would be really quick and easy and whatnot. What would be best for you? Okay, I let her pick. I don't pick what's best for me. I pick what's best for her. If she wants to have coffee, I don't like it going out too far. So if we can do it in the next 2 or 3 days, otherwise, if we can't find a thing that works in both our schedules, I just say, you know what, it looks like we're both kind of busy. Let's just do a phone call. So again, how many of those are you doing? And not just setting up, but then actually confirming. And when I set an appointment like that, whether it's a phone call or an in-person thing, I'm confirming it just like I would any other type of beauty session or appointment, like sending confirmation emails, texts, whatever. But how many of those are you doing? Because those two things combined, it's not just like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm sharing the opportunity and putting it out there. How are you doing that? Is it systematic in the sense that over time you've gotten results from it? And then how many people are you either closing on the spot because you're not jumping over this, or you're sitting down with them for either coffee or a phone call or whatever? I'm telling you, that will just completely transform your team building, those two things. So, so again, okay, it's 2025. It's only the 3rd when I made this video. So you've got some time, right? You don't have time. You don't want to like sit around planning, right? And if you're one of these people who's like, I'll do it when I get organized, girl. All right, let's just take a little look at Emily's desk right now. Does this look organized to you? No. Oh, let's look at my table over there. It's a mess right now. Okay, no. Okay, I don't wait until things are organized to do things. It is a reality that I'm probably going to need to like clean up around here a little bit. We were kind of like doing some audits and some tax stuff and whatever. But again, I would never put that stuff in front of my non-negotiables, which is booking a little bit every single day and then, doing the team building stuff at the appointment. But you guys, it is all about that working full circle. So anyway, what are you excited about? What sets you on fire? You want a new year, not another year. And systems are for people who care about winning repeatedly. Even booking is a system for me because I do it every single day. I have a way that I do it and it produces results consistently over time. So anyway, can't wait to see just like what you do different this year. Like what's different? I feel like how cool would it be if so many people in the Mary Kay world did something different this year that like company-wide it produced a different result too. So I've got big goals myself. Can't wait. If you're in my unit, thank you so much for watching this, and have the best 2025 ever.